the scene opens within Foundation, Elysium of New Sarum. Stefan has been wandering through uh, the halls of Elysium, just kind of keeping to himself and his thoughts for the most part, happening upon the ivory room. As usual, it's immaculate white walls, white marble floor, array of lounging pillows, much like a Mediterranean dining atmosphere. He decides to take a bit of hospitality that the prince has so generously offered. Though he has never personally met the man, at this point he'll take a single blood point. And post meal, as usual, he always does his best to feed clean, not a drop spilt. He heads out to the Veranda Foundation, thinking about an old but slightly inappropriate lesson to be exercising at a place like this. But begins going through a series of physical exercises, mostly calisthenic, although definitely testing his stamina, his, his physical ability to keep going.
Is that after having a very active evening, even getting to even having the pleasure of witnessing another bourgeois fucker. A new lad who frenzied in front of a Tremere newcomer. Also having the pleasure of seeing the rare display of Tremere thaumaturgy. Decided to spend some time out on the veranda. On his way there, finds a target that matches his specific tastes, as it was accounted for some time ago, months ago. It'll take a bit of time drawing out only a single point, and then letting the dear lady go on her way as he makes his way through the halls and steps out onto the veranda. Kind of draws him back to the memory of recent memory of him spilling everything, almost to Natalia there. Fond memories. Now he's out here with fucking Stefan.
Who is going through a series of what appears to be exercises, to be honest. Maybe the occasional jumping jack. some fanged punches at the air, um, apparently attempting to use what Axel has taught him so long ago, keeping or making a straight punch. Um, let's just see if he even notices anybody stepping out. So I'll make this like difficulty 8, and I'll set myself one die down. If hang on, so dice stream is gonna cooperate. Drum roll, please.
Ah, shit. This one's Zach to the scene. He kind of walks.
Holy
wow.
shit! Yes. Even distracted, his perception is mighty. Oh.
Yeah.
He turns for a moment, kind of looking. Brushes his suit off. It's not something you've seen him in before. It's a bit dated if you keep up with fashion. It looks as though it is an immaculately preserved formal, like a business suit almost, all the way down to a simple, what was it, like a steel bar behind his tie. Some nice, but I mean, obviously, if you rolled any kind of finance or some kind of fashion or whatever, they would be inexpensive, but quite nice looking. The suit is immaculately pressed, two tone, so black and white.
Zach's in the formal wear that he's generally spotted in. It's just that the suit itself is fine. It's probably you could probably guess from its quality that's probably something he only brings out irregularly rather than his general uniform. Other than that, it's not. There's not really too much to say, as it really isn't all that different from his general suit. Just looking generally, more well pressed, more fine, maybe a little softer to the touch, but he kind of spots you doing these weird exercises, and he just tilts his head a little bit as he enters the room.
Pardon me, it has been some time since I have been able to undertake such actions. A little something that Axel taught
me. You seem to be getting yourself into all manner of awkward situations these past few nights.
Yeah. It has not come without a lot of deep contemplation. As he walks over to one of the stone benches on the veranda and picks up a rather odd package. The shape, though, is not difficult to make out, as the small black garbage bag, actually, to keep it clean, to keep it from being soiled or messed up, obviously puts it in the shape of an arm. He picks it up and tucks it under his left arm.
I don't believe Zach is aware of the prosthetic you're making for Damien. He knows that Damien's obviously without an arm.
Maybe. I can't really remember.
Make a perception and sort of see if you can make a general guess as to what's in there. Well, I was going to say perception investigation, but it's the same roll either way, so... Okay, he more or less figures it out, like, Okay.
Yeah,
He
it's
looks like
like a
he's a bum.
difficulty 6. Yeah.
Um, I think he is aware of your profession. Well, at least side vocation as a craftsman, at least, or has a general idea of it. Um, yeah, he'll just ask, "So, what's in the bag? Looks like you got a missing arm in there."
It was meant to be a replacement for Mr. Black's right arm. I took. It was not easy to take measurements of the left arm and then transpose it over to the right for orientation. Quite mathematically difficult.
Yes, I could definitely see that. I can imagine making prosthetics is generally not easy. Uh, Although I can imagine that Damien would owe you quite a bit for this.
I was willing to give this to him for the mere pittance of $400.
Zang looks
Quite
quite. Zang looks quite. Well, his eyebrows lift a little bit. Yeah, and a little bit of surprise that Damien's getting off. Really, it's like, well, more generous than I, especially with a man like Damien who hasn't exactly perhaps earned such generosity, shall we say.
Well, I don't exactly have the best reputation. Zero reputation is, to be exact. It's in the city, but it is fine. I am coming to terms with this.
Well, having no reputation is generally better than having a bad one, like yes, like Damien. So you'll probably start making headway at some point. It's probably only a matter of time, to be honest. As long as you don't make too many mistakes, you'll be fine.
My list of mistakes is far shorter than Mr. Black. I
Indeed, I hear
can.
he's gotten himself into quite a bit of trouble. I'm surprised he hasn't turned up to Elysium to at least try and allay some of those concerns.
I do not believe it is his way to feel apologetic for anything he does, unless, of course, it is something of a violent nature.
Oh, I'd consider such a, well, I've seen this stubborn streak before. Generally not a positive trait to have. Hopefully, Zach doesn't know that I've met Damon already. We all say, I hope Matt sort him out. If not, well, I'd be glad to lay down the rules of it. Really nice. I can only imagine that he's not exactly a fan of me right now. Not that I particularly care.
Axel is never has never, as far as I've known him, been a fan of the Ventro. It is a shame, actually. I
Well,
have tried to tell him that, well, tried to convey that the Ventro are not entirely bad.
I appreciate that. And let's just see. I'm gonna have him make a manipulation plus choose roll because Axel actually told Zach quite a bit about his past. Not the entirety of it, but enough for Zach to have a pretty strong idea of what happened. Like he more or less gave him like 90% of the pieces to that puzzle.
Yeah.
He hides it pretty well.
I have never really gauged Zachary. I'm actually going to try to try to gauge more or less if the sincerity is on the up, to try to get a better beat on him myself.
Yep, perception and fear.
This will be quite the challenge.
You wouldn't get an idea of what Zach's really thinking, but you get the fact that he perhaps reacted a little strangely, or perhaps he might be
Nope.
reacting in a way. Oh, okay. What is it?
Nope.
Like, how many fives is that? Oh
Uh,
no.
Three of
Okay,
them.
yeah. You got one success, but it's negated by the one, so it's not a botch. Not
Yeah,
that
yeah.
would have mattered too much. But yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. Zach just seems to respond pretty uh, normally. He seems to respond as you would expect, and he seems to appreciate the fact that trying to talk some sense into Axel. Hmm. Actually, caught Axel having a very bad day.
Hmm.
I had somewhat, well, I was going to work with him in regards to Mr. Williams in the video, but it appears that's already been dealt with. Mr. Williams had a
Yes.
the new blood, Mr. Smith, destroy it. Or destroy the SIM card at least. It better
A
be destroyed.
new Bruja.
Yes. This new
Hmm.
Bruja also had the, well, I understand their weakness. Perhaps it wasn't entirely his fault. He also ended up frenzying on a Tremere newcomer. I believe his name was Albert, Mr.
Hmm.
Sherwood. Yes. He, I got the rare pleasure of seeing some Tremere magic in action. Well, they did seem very disgruntled when it was called magic by everyone else in the room.
I
It was
I
quite a
got
heated
that
debate.
same impression the first time I met Mr. Pendragon. The last Elysium, during a testing is what they called it. I'm not knowledgeable about the Termier. I have had good interactions with him, but it occurs to me that all of what we can all do is a form of magic. So my curiosity does not peak so much, but
Well, it's certainly not science. But yes, they are rather secretive, and perhaps rightfully so. They certainly have a better grasp of it than we have, at least. I didn't really feel the need to press the issue. I believe they were debating about the sea monster when I entered the room. It was quite interesting. Well, it was quite overwhelming to listen to, having about 3 or 4 different voices constantly talking over each other. It's like, oh god, listening to one of those high school debates. Entertaining, but not necessarily informative.
what
Yes.
uh, what if anything did you see in this display of capability?
Pardon?
What exactly did you see during this display of capability? And he looks just normally quizzical.
Oh, well, let's see. A bunch of. He spoke a single word of Latin. I can't remember what it was. Oh, sorry. I reckon that. He. Because Zach doesn't know it's Latin. But, yeah. Zach, so he spoke a single word. I couldn't discern what it was exactly. Uh, and then, yes, a wave of energy seemed to emanate through uh, his body and then seem to be channel itself. I guess you could imagine it going all the way uh, down his body and then being channeled through uh, his arm until the energy itself merely disappears, and then, well, the Bruja seems to calm down very quickly.
Hmm.
I, at the time, simply cut off the Bruja from his target. I'm not exactly sure what triggered the Bruja now that I think about it. I think it was actually something with me, funny enough. Actually, just well, aimed at the room.
This Mr. Smith, he was simply sedated by the Terminator. There was no unpleasantness with the
He
sheriff.
was, I believe, the sheriff entered the room shortly after the Bruja was calmed down, but the situation was already resolved. So there was no issue to be dealt with. It's a shame that disciplines had to be used to to calm down someone who's lost his temper, which seems to happen all too often.
And
Yeah.
his first name is Mr. Smith.
Kyle Smith.
Oh,
New. Is he on good terms with Scott Williams, which is just a recipe for trouble. Hmm.
in fact, I believe no. If he wait, Mr. Williams, I'm not familiar with him.
A Toreador who had a video of a masquerade breaching incident that has now been destroyed. Rather foolish for him to hold on to it for so long. I was actually that's what I was talking about. Getting together with Axel with earlier for us to remove the video from his possession because I'm not sure why he intended to use it. There was no blackmail material there unless he threatened to make it public, in which case, well,
So,
the sheriff was going to have a very strong word with him.
based on what I heard the last time I was at the Museum library, it was in an after-hours section. Uh, it appears that this was a masquerade breaching. I can only assume that a harpy has been informed. If that is the case, I'm sure any harpy of intelligence and standing would not see this as a threat to anybody but
Uh,
themselves.
I had communicated the issue to Mr. Rose Goodchild some time ago prior to Elysium, although I did not state what Mr. Williams' intention was, as I did not know. It seems he's destroyed the video now. The problem is that there's blackmail because half the city knew, and well, I told the Harpy, so the whole city was going to know. And well, threatening to put us on the internet is just tantamount to suicide, and well, perhaps he is that foolish. I don't know.
When you say internet, Stefan almost looks confused, and then in a moment, just as quickly, ah, yeah. If you would like my opinion on this, I believe in the interest of teaching lessons, allow if he ever posts this to this internet, let it happen. But if you know anybody, I can think of one in particular that I would trust this matter, to monitor his activities. I'm sure that it is not. I'm sure that it is possible via this internet to uh, monitor people's activity if you have some way of identifying them.
Well, I don't think we have to worry about that issue anymore, as he supposedly destroyed the video confirmed by Carl Smith and the Toreador fledgling. But I don't exactly. This Kyle Smith. I don't like this partnership he seems to have with Mr. Williams. I was in a poor mood when I first entered Elysium. Wife was getting. Let's just say things were complicated, but I had not lost my temper at Smith. I had, of course, of the mere newcomer, because I'm not that foolish. But his first response to our conversation was, "Should I punch him in Elysium?" Now, I'm
Well,
not sure how new he is, but surely he must have been informed that Elysium is neutral ground. Unfortunately, he did not come to that because Mr. William did inform him, or hopefully re-informed him, that this is a place of safety and neutrality. But I can definitely see a man with such violent tendencies losing his temper so quickly upon a newcomer, a tremendous newcomer of all people. Not a threat by any standards. In fact, he was merely hoping to meet the prince. I believe I saw his presentation. In fact, very interesting creature he gave the prince. Couldn't really discern what it was.
the Bruja or the Tremere?
The Tremere. Bruges, I could.
Hmm.
This was clearly not a normal creature. Perhaps some result of experiment gone wrong, or perhaps too right, depending on your opinion. But the our dear prince seemed satisfied with it, more or less. As for Mr. Smith, well,
What did it look like?
OC, it literally looked like a crocobird. I'm literally going to say crocobird. But Zach's like some mix between a reptilian creature and a bird. I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. It's difficult to describe. Definitely unique. Not an issue, of course, otherwise the prince wouldn't have accepted it at all. But yes, it was very interesting. You should have been there. It would have been quite an entertaining watch. I believe the prince has urged Mr. Smith to look into this sea monster.
Hmm.
I have my own suspicions regarding that. Very loose, unfortunately. We know very little about the creature in general. I don't think we've even seen its body, only its appendages. Although there are patterns beginning to arise. Although I can't say anything yet, it's far too up in the air.
Apparently, from what Mort told me, there was a quite a large squid pulled up from the bay not too long ago. Quite interesting. Giant tentacled beasts and then a giant squid. It is not a common sight. But with regards to Mr. Smith and Mr. Williams, if one of the rabble wished to walk through the rose gardens, I believe that maybe the Toreador can. I believe they have a good chance of helping him with his anger issues. I would not dissuade this. As far as the video, though, if he does have another copy, maybe this would be worth trying to find out his fingerprint on this internet and monitor activity. If anything is found indeed, he may still have intentions to post it for whatever reason, if it exists. I mean, I do not know.
There's
But
no material left for him to post if everyone, when they stated that they had this destructive mood, they appeared to be genuine, and I can definitely see Mr. Smith being eager to break anything in sight. It's a shame, such wasted potential.
that depends on how Kyle uses what he has.
Mm,
Since he is so new, it has not been seen. I would
hopefully,
say give him a chance.
we'll see. The first impression's not great, but I believe I was with him when he was conversing with the prince. I believe he works down by the docks somewhere.
Hmm.
Apparently, things have been a little too quiet for Mr. Smith's taste down there recently. Apparently, a sign of trouble. I'd not disagree with him actually. Usually, when things are quiet, it is the calm before the storm, if nothing else. Which is why I am uneasy with current events in this city. Oh, did you? Oh, you were not there, were you? Yes, I believe I figured out some very interesting things of my own. You haven't met the Giovanni, have you?
No.
No.
What are the Giovanni? Are they like us, or are they just an Italian family?
Well, they are an Italian, well, presumably an Italian family if they're called such. I believe. I suppose you could say there's a reason why we're supposed to not interfere with the Rossellini's.
Hmm.
They had an open conversation with the prince in front of um, well, a small audience, which included me. It's quite interesting to watch. I believe she also seemed to. She didn't seem to be too concerned with what was going on until she seemed to be a little entertained by my interaction with my dear Primogen. And you notice the slightest hint of derision in his voice this time. Um,
It's obvious.
it's
Hmm.
yeah, you don't have to roll perception empathy for this. This is pretty obvious. It's not like massive. Again, it's a slight hint of derision, but you know,
Hmm.
it's not muffled or anything. Um,
No, no. What was it that you and your Primogen, I don't know the man, I have only met a few went through. Yourself, one Mr. Jones, quite a quite an imposing man, but not a threatening one, and a Mr. Ivanov.
uh, yes, Ivanov keeps everything in line. But no, that is for me and my privileges to sort out internal business. I'd ask that you don't interfere, not for my safety, of course, but for your own. Our elders don't truly appreciate it when yeah, the younger ones try to get involved.
Hopefully, it is nothing bad, but it is went through business. Unless, of course, it becomes Camarilla business and spreads out into the rest of the city. I am not going to bother myself. I have far too much to do. I have a particularly interesting venture that I am going to attempt to embark on.
Interesting. This venture wouldn't happen to be with this opera house, would it? Or is it a separate venture?
A smaller venture. I am not much of a businessman. I am attempting to continue to be able to pay the bills, so to speak, while giving myself a bit more freedom than working at the last resort, although I do enjoy it.
What is this venture you intend to go down? If so, I may be able to help you bankroll it. Now, I would not be able to bring you the sun and the moon, of course, but I'd definitely be able to help you. I do have the sway to make that happen, at least.
Transportation.
Hmm.
I I am
Yeah, Rag
going to
just kind of
need
looks at you, waiting for elaboration.
I'm going to need to finally, since I am no longer living in New York. Yeah, this city does not have the most efficient transit system for the public, um, and finding a driving school that operates at night or offers night classes, I should say, is going to be of utmost importance. Um, Post that, procuring a vehicle and then making certain systematic changes to it.
So essentially, a cab business for our dear kindred seems like a noble endeavor if I've ever heard of one. I may be able to. It's not like I could be able to secure you. I'd be able to secure you a loan on generous terms, but of course, acquiring the vehicle would, of course, require a bit of research on your own end. It shouldn't be too hard to find a cab, though.
I was hoping to. I was hoping to go with something a little bit atypical, not whatever model vehicle is typically used for taxis. I was thinking something more, I guess you could say, American dreamish, um, a Lincoln sedan.
Lincoln sedan.
But that research will be done. I recently acquired a small piece of mobile technology, a tiny computer that interacts with your fingers.
So actually, I was a bit puzzled by that because, of course, that naturally a lot of computers use touchpad technology. Um, so it's actually a little bit confused when you say that. Not because he doesn't, obviously, not because he's unfamiliar with technology, but because what you said appears to almost be uh, deliberately vague. Um, but he'll drop that because it doesn't really interest him. Well, I may be able to uh, help you with that. I'm also starting up a business of my own now. It's going to be it'll take some time to get up and running, but it's going to be a manufacturing firm. So if there are any tools or equipment you need specifically, I may be able to provide them to you. Of course, it depends on how quickly you get your own enterprise up and running. Perhaps you'll have outpaced me by then. He kind of gives a slight smile.
Axel seems to have more of a head for business than myself. I may I may work with him. He may have some ideas to
Mm.
assist as well. Um, but that is definitely a laudable goal. Manufacturing at one point was the backbone of this country, and it has fallen
Mm.
in the last 3 or 4 decades.
Well, I intend to aid with the city regeneration projects, which are actually being headed by the Rosselinis themselves. There's I believe they're holding a roundtable discussion. At least that's what they've stated on the news. So I'll be attending that and see what opportunities I can garner out of that, and I can contribute. Unfortunately, they're not looking to rebuild the projects right now, but that's something I have to look into later.
The Rossellini Foundation, that is based in Whitney, I believe.
Well, they recently acquired Wolford Industries.
Hmm.
They are looking to, I believe, rebuild the industrial district and Little Italy, I believe. Of course, it would be Little Italy.
Hmm. I do hope. I do hope that the small but quaint, what is the term? This dive bar. Um, it is always said in a with a pleasant connotation to it. Hopefully, that will remain untouched. But you mentioned something about a bit of business earlier this evening, I believe. Aside from the manufacture.
Did Zach? I can't remember. Please remind me, OC.
Yeah,
Because I'm trying to
some
remember.
kind of kindredy business.
Kindredy business?
Yeah,
I think that's referencing the cab business that he spoke out of you. I don't believe he has anything else going on right now, actually. No, I can't actually think of anything. um, so
no.
Zach will just look at it all um, slightly confused because he can't remember it himself.
Oh, it does not matter. This sea monster definitely interesting. I
Ah,
don't have.
yes.
I don't. I'm not a I do not have background in biology of the marine sort, but oh, I'm sure the basics of human anatomy is oh, maybe be a start.
I believe I know that Carlsmith may or may not be looking into it, depending on how seriously he takes the prince's urging. But I do believe the Tremere are having some level of attention to that now. So we'll see what they turn up. If it is unnatural, then perhaps there are none better suited to dealing with it than they. Although we'll see. It could just be another religious Bible thumping lunacy.
Hmm.
Nothing I'm personally concerned with. It appears irregularly and doesn't. Well, I believe it is a shame that it killed that one boy, but I believe it's really killed one boy. Well, no, that's not entirely true either. I believe there have been people who've been going missing off the coast, but regardless, it
These
hardly appears as
types,
threatening as that
these
fire-branded
types of
full
events
is.
do happen. Shark attacks, generally speaking, drownings. When it comes to the ocean, whether it is in a contained bay or more in the open, people do disappear. It's sad that it happens, but it is a fact of life.
Hmm. Well, hopefully the issue resolves itself. I hardly believe that the world is coming to an end because of some tentacle monster. But we'll see. I have a lot of work to do once Elysium ends. A lot of issues to look into. As for uh, this opera house, I'll see what I can do. I'd like to see it before I make any decisions. I may also need to see if I can catch the prince before he
Mm,
leaves Elysium. As of course we'll need, if we wish to set up our own Elysium, we'll need
well,
his permission. Of course, that is not our place to decide.
it is more than that. Setting up an Elysium is a matter of gaining a certain amount of respect and status among the elders of a city, and generally an appointment of keeper of said Elysium. given that there is already one, it may be considered a little too maybe confrontational. But who knows the minds of those who are older than us?
Indeed. Either way, I shall run it by them. Then, well, I suppose we'll be getting our answer. Um, either way,
Starting it simply may be a better option. I would recommend, being that I have seen it myself. It is, albeit has not been used in probably quite some amount of years. It is in a lot better shape than the theater downtown. Um, I would suggest making it something less before it becomes more. Maybe reopening it as an opera house is a it would be a fine outlet to regain for this city as far as culture is concerned.
possibly. Yes, I may be able to set something up there. I believe Ardito may be very interested in performing there if we can publicise its reopening well enough. It would be a start for him at least. I believe he has
If
lamented the sudden delay of his career.
if you require any amount of how can we say it, decorative work in a way of sculpture, I would require material, of course, and a little compensation for the work. Uh, but and some ideas. I may be able to come up with something if you deem that any amount of stonework would be necessary.
I will see if I can acquire funds to get this place up and running again before I can consider decoration. It'll definitely be considered, but fundamentals first.
Of
Building's no
course,
good if it can't hold an audience and if it can't hold one safely. Yeah, so it'll be something I'll approach you with in the future. I'll discuss this with higher ups and sort the opinion, see what the general consensus is, even if it cannot be transformed into a Elysium, it can still be a viable partnership for us both, I hope.
it could. It could. Anything to bring back some culture to the city is quite laudable. I'm sure, indeed, my sire would be quite intrigued. Hell, it may even prompt him to make a brief visit, if nothing else, if mentioned to him. It's been a long time since I've seen my friend.
Well, if he does pay a visit here, I do hope the city appeals to him, and hopefully this perhaps will be up and running by then. Hopefully, the funds shouldn't be too stretched. May I ask if your credit rating is generous?
My credit rating is, well, when you work at a small establishment such as the Last Resort, as pleasant as it is and as beautifully cleaned and maintained as I generally keep it for the owner. It is what it is. It is a small bar. It does not pay much. It keeps me afloat, but extras usually require my own creativity to be able to fit the bill for other things.
I see. Yes, I can see that. Hmm. Taking out a double loan on this upper house and this cab business you intend to set up may make things complicated for you. I'll see. Well, if you require it depends on whether you require a loan for your business after all. If you're just intending to be a simple cab driver across the city acquiring a, what's it say, a Lincoln sedan shouldn't be too costly. And I believe that
What are some of the specifics of this business? I mean, obviously, beyond the pursuits that I know I need to undertake. What are some of the what is some of the paperwork that is required?
actually, considering it's just paperwork, I'm going to say this is difficulty 4 because Zach has done this
Mhm.
his whole fucking life. Like, this is
Yeah,
some things well acquainted with. Yeah, he more or less, yeah, he takes you through the paperwork very easily. I'll just say a short piece. Well, it depends on what business you intend to start up with. Start up as if you intend to be simply a cab. Well, depends. If you're just a one-man cab driver, then I'd recommend starting with a sole trader. You'd pay less tax, and you'd have complete autonomy over the business itself. It would not be easy to grasp from you at the very least, so you wouldn't have to worry about any political maneuvers.
business license and the taxi permit.
Mm.
Hmm.
You would have unlimited liability, which means if you take out a loan, your possessions may be. You'd have to put it against certain collateral. May make your possessions forfeit. Hopefully, it won't come to that though. As long as your business is relatively successful, it shouldn't be too much of a problem. If you are starting up a cab business, though, I would recommend you find out optimal routes around the city. And pertaining to Kindred, you would obviously need certain. Well, you stated it yourself. You'd need certain modifications, which would perhaps bump up the cost slightly. Shouldn't be too much, uh, but would be a factor to take into account, especially as well, starting off small. Despite the fact that a grant would not be something to the Rossellini Foundation, it would be a lot to you. So it would be something to consider. But the setup is very simple, as
Hmm.
you aren't starting a limited or public entity. It should not be too much of an issue for you.
I'm assuming now
Oh,
basic.
see, I hope I'm right, by the way, because I'm going off UK law, which I know is not the same as US law.
It's probably similar.
It's, I think,
There,
similar.
yeah, it's similar. Not exactly the same, but
I think
similar enough. I mean, the rules of the road, from what I've gathered, personally, aren't too dissimilar. Aside from the side of the road that vehicles operate.
yeah. There's a lot of overlap. It's just
Yeah.
there might be subtle differences I may have gotten wrong.
Now, taxi permits, basic ones, they don't require any kind of photo identification, do they? It makes it a lot easier given my usual state of complexion.
You're asking if there's photo, if like if you need photo ID for something. Pardon?
If the taxi permit requires a photo, or if there's a way to basic out of it.
Well, I wouldn't know too much about taxi taxi permits. Maybe maybe it would, maybe it wouldn't. Of course, if you wish, I'm not sure if you already have a driver's license or not. Presumably, if you don't have one, you will definitely want to get one very soon. For obvious
Yes.
reasons, that would require a photo, I believe.
It is going to be the first step in the venture.
Zach just takes out his own driver's license out of his wallet to basically elaborate, and you see his picture. It's obviously this is a younger version of himself because this was many years ago, so probably like at least a decade ago. Um, but yeah, regardless, the message is sent. Back into his wallet.
This is
Anyway,
quite
yes.
intriguing. Well, should I need some assistance in filing some paperwork with the city, would it be too much to ask for you to assist in this? It's a little difficult to get to City Hall after business hours have concluded.
If you wish to create the proper paperwork, shall we say, that may be an issue that would be better suited to the Nosferatu than myself. Simply to point you in the right direction, as
I would prefer to keep this legal as it better protects the masquerade.
legal. If it's legal, then yes, I can help you with that without any real issue.
As far as the vehicle is concerned, I have an idea, but the source is something that troubles me a bit. But no matter, no matter. That is for a later time after I hopefully finish my pursuit in
Yes.
driving school.
As for this opera house, if you wish to fix it and rebuild it, well, that is going to take a significant loan, which I'm not sure you'll be
I
able to
believe
pay.
Axel is more interested in the opera house, but I will definitely pass along the information to him.
Setting up a partnership with him would be, perhaps it would help us. Clivier, I know he has issues, and I can't necessarily blame him, but we'll see if I can enlighten him. Prove to him that we aren't all looking to line our own pockets. At the end of the day, I didn't start this business I didn't set up my own business to simply make a profit. There are 100 different ways in which I could make far more money.
While while the expression on Stefan's face below his nose is rather gleeful, anything above that, eyes, cheeks, brows seem to be lowered and furrowed, almost as though he's conflicted with something, as best you can tell. It's quite disconcerting, actually.
Yeah, this man make an empty. Oh no, he flubs. So
Yeah,
yeah, you notice this.
you are.
Something that he has
Yeah,
no idea why. He has no idea
yeah.
why. He's obviously missed the mark, shall we say? So yeah,
I will see what I can do. Talking with Mr. Linwood and see if I can persuade him to give you a bit of a chance in this venture. Stefan kind of pierced back through the glass leading out to the veranda. Oh, I believe maybe there might be some activity picking up quite
hopefully
soon.
Mr. Smith again. Or this
We
guy came
should
from me pushing him.
we should definitely get back to the crowd. You never know what is going to take place.
Hopefully I can catch our dear prince before he leaves, and perhaps I can run the idea by him. Maybe he'll take kindly to it. I did note to him that we should hold Elysiums more frequently. It's probably one of the few times that we can feel safe and relaxed, and that is rare in these nights.
It is true. Hopefully, I can actually catch him before the Elysium is over and at least more appropriately make my presence known to him. Although I'm sure I am not completely unknown. I have dealt with other kindred, though I do not know exactly what family the prince belongs to.
Well, that will be for him to state and not me. But yes, I'm sure because you're a known quantity, you've been accounted for one way or another. But yes, it would be best to get it formalized. I know some of the newcomers have already ingratiated themselves in our little town. Yes, I'll see what I can do about getting back. God, I'm gonna have so much fucking paperwork when I get back. Christ.
Hmm. One step at a time. Small bits of paperwork, even if it creates a bit of a backlog, is not an unpleasant thing in the long run. And it preserves a small bit of sanity. The chuckle is quite inappropriate. But yes, yes, let us get back to the mainstay of the Elysium floor.
Let's see if I can. Maybe there's some individuals I've not met yet. I know I've not met Damien. Perhaps there is still some action going on before Elysium ends. And
Stefan begins to kind of unravel the package a little bit. He just undoes a couple of small pieces of twine or small pieces of rope really quickly and pulls the prosthetic out. If you're familiar with any types of wood, it appears it's a light wood, possibly pine.
let's see. Zach has no dots and cross, so he wouldn't know, or necessarily
The
care, to be honest.
amount of successes on the arm itself are about 5. It's not the grandest work, but it is actually rather clean. It looks proportioned. The along the three of two of the fingers and the thumb, the wrist to the elbow, and going up beyond, ending in a few alligator clips. He kind of pulls some of them gently, and with one pull, you see 2 fingers move. And with another pull, you see the thumb move. The middle finger and pinky do not move, they stay stationary. A separate one makes the wrist manipulate, and then the third makes the elbow joint manipulate. It's not the smoothest thing ever, only about 3 successes.
Yes, 3 successes is a full success, but yeah.
Yeah,
Yep, Zach will look.
quite
Yeah,
intrigued.
he hasn't seen, well, he generally doesn't see prosthetics, and he probably wouldn't have seen one specifically like this before. So he'll look relatively impressed as he leans back off the balcony of the veranda and Well,
Stefan begins to put it back, place it back into the bag, keeping keeping the bag itself close to the arm, giving it a light twist at the end, and then bringing it back, retying the string around it. It is it's quite the look. Oh well, perhaps if nothing else, I can always keep it as a sample. Maybe even display it as a work of modern art.
an example of not to lose your hand.
That would be a lesson for all the Broha, I believe.
Anyway, yes. I should get back to the main hall, see if I can find any of my own again. I haven't had the pleasure of seeing Prescott here, which would seem unusual of him. I'll see if I can get a hold of him. And Zach begins to head out, and he'll kind of turn back to see if you could follow.
Stefan will follow at least a 3 foot distance behind, to give adequate room for doors to swing. And as both kindred make their way back to the primary halls of the Elysium and into the crowd and the throng and the sounds of this place, the scene will come to a close. Eventually.